Bum, 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum, 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 bum. I usually get very lucky just after big rain like this. We just had a little bit of a flash flood. And I want the God of likes to entrust me with some important connections in my life, especially some career connections, some good roommates to live with, and a life partner. I think the life partner he has already entrusted me with, but the other two, not so much. I find that I'm very vulnerable because I don't have these connections. What do I mean by that? Well, at my last job, you guys remember last year, I was teaching at a different campus. I had a boss who was rather soft spoken, and he would talk very deliberately, which might be a good thing. But I am autistic, and as I'm sitting in front of his desk and he's being methodical and deliberate, I'm always imagining the worst possible next words that he might say. And it put the fear of God into me. Gotta remember, back in September 2024, I had just recovered from a really painful case of COVID, and not only COVID, but long COVID symptoms and rejection from society, and all the other fun stuff that a chronic illness can come with, right? Almost lost my job, being rejected by society when I went out to take care of myself, losing quite a few social groups. You really lose everything when you go through a long COVID. Actually, the physical symptoms of long COVID were probably the least painful part of it. It was the psychological and the social aspects that I really took the brunt of. I don't know. Any of my viewers who have gone through long COVID, please leave a comment if you agree with that. The physical symptoms are the least painful of them all, at least now in retrospect, right? Physical pain has a tendency to be forgotten over time, right? But psychological pain's not so much, right? But I had a boss who was methodical, deliberate. He was an older person, and I don't necessarily want to complain about him, but it put the fear of God into me every time I spoke to him, especially if he initiated the conversation, right? And it made me realize I didn't have enough connections. Two things: connections and financial stability. Right? If the job were something I were just doing for fun money instead of actually to eat, right? Let's see what he has to say, right? And number two, the connectivity at the career, right? If I had colleagues who said supportive things to me every day, maybe I wouldn't worry so much, right? Okay, and then the roommate situation. Part of the reason I often have especially if I live with the owner of the home, or even if my roommate has just been renting for a longer time and he has more solid ground at that place, and I'm on an unequal footing. I learned the hard way. I went to upgrade my storage locker so I could have more space. I learned the hard way to not keep anything too near and dear in the home, right? My coin collections, my art projects. If they're near and dear, if it's something that's ongoing, maybe I'll keep it though. But everything that's done and near and dear to me, I either find a consignment shop for it or I keep it in my storage unit. And I learned the hard way because I had a roommate who was really high maintenance. He got upset over every little thing. Now the funny thing is, I'm not a big whiner, so we had another roommate, female. She would complain that I left the toilet seat up, as if it were the crime of the century. Now, I guarantee there are grievances, I have that are on par with that I just didn't speak, right? I take care of it myself. If it bothered me that much, let's imagine the toilet seat actually did bother me. I go get a pair of gloves or paper towels and I take care of it, and nobody would ever realize that they did anything wrong, right? Like, for example, some of my roommates don't always do their dishes, and I'll put on some gloves and take care of it. And I'm just not a big whiner for for things that I can take care of, right? If it's something I can't take care of, maybe I'll whine a little bit, right? But and he just thinks everything's fine and dandy with his behavior just because I don't complain. One day we had been arguing over something trivial. It probably wasn't the toilet seat up, but something else trivial. that should have been something that takes 5 seconds to take care of. And I don't know if he was drunk or half joking, or he is also autistic, but he's a little bit more extroverted. He asked me to just leave right now, something like, in a heated argument. And it put the fear of God into me, because not only did I have all my art in his home at the time, but I was teaching at Glendale Community College, and I was doing really well there, and I didn't want it. Having to move in such a short notice would have really wrecked my spirits at work. I didn't want that to happen, and I'll never forget how I felt. He might as well have taken an axe to me. It probably would have felt similar. And so, because those things are really near and dear, I don't know what I would. If something were, I'd rather die than have something happen to my career and my art projects. Almost, right? And so when he made insensitive jokes like that, after I had a chance to collect myself and reflect on it, and after I moved out especially, it made my heart go out to people who have children, young children in the home. They're living with their landlord, because of their circumstances, and the landlord makes insensitive jokes like that, or even having a pet in the house, right? Or any sort of situation. Maybe they might not have these sensitive things, but they're dealing with something, right? A family member who has cancer in the hospital, they just recently suffered a death in the family, or even job turbulences, and they have to hear their landlord threatening to kick them. I really feel for those people. I really do. And so I'm asking the God of likes to entrust me. I'm still offering the reward for anybody who can help me with this stuff, because I feel very vulnerable without these things in my life. At any moment, any number of these people can destabilize my situation, or at least make threats to right? This is the Peter Dislike Show! The Peter Like Show! Bum 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 bum.